Pounders, we are back, and today we got a little treat for you, a little special guest on the show. He's a DFS legend, especially on Underdog with 5 first-place finishes. Absolute animal. Before we get into that intro, go down, slap a like. If you're new on the channel, subscribe. If you like fantasy football, best ball, especially battle royales, we're going to be crushing during the season. And sign up for the Discord. So many good chats going on in the Discord. And it's been awesome to see that community grow as well. Free draft guide is in there in the cheat sheet section for subscribers on the YouTube machine. So without a further ado, Nick, welcome to the live stream.
What's up, Pat? What's up, Pounders? Thanks again for having me. How are you?
We're absolutely crushing. And the more I was like, when this contest opened, I was like, I don't really like the weekly contest. Like the setup I thought was like flawed, the payouts, but the more I dipped into it, it's not really a 261,000 lineup tournament, right? Because some teams are going to be even dead week 1, teams that draft a lot of rookies or teams that are drafting players like Jameson Williams and Kamara, they're playing for the end of the season. So week 1, it's not even a 261,000 team tournament when there are no bye weeks. And then you get into the bye weeks and teams are, they're correlated around those. So you have more dead teams on those weeks as well. So it's just a little different way to think about it. It does pay the top 2.8% on a weekly basis. So 17 weeks to get your $10 back. It's a $15 tournament. And we're obviously shooting for the most upside. What have been your favorite like builds or starts or weeks that you're sort of building around right now, Nick?
Well, we couldn't be like any further apart because I'm actually loving these contests. I'm having a lot of fun with them. Just being able to implement different strategies and just do something different. It's a change of pace from best ball drafting. So I've been enjoying it. I've mixed in some teams where I focus strictly bye weeks. So if I start with Eckler, I try and build around bye week 5 where I get guys like Nick Chubb, and I'm just forfeiting those weeks, and then hopefully having those players not on like different bye weeks is going to give you an edge with teams that are kind of not correlating it that correctly. So I've done different strategies though. I've done some where I've just gotten ADP value, and I'm just like my team is wish wash, but I'm like I just can't afford to, like, if someone's letting someone drop so many picks, like I have to click on them.
And I'm with you on that, especially if it's like a tier break player, right? Like if it's a player in a higher tier, I find it extremely difficult to make that reach. Now, if it's just like, the player's ranked 2 spots ahead in your personal rankings, or, it's a 50-50 match, like sure, go with the bye week, the matching bye week. I think that is a enormous advantage.
You also have to understand the players are going to be different in terms of how they're going to affect your team in a best ball draft and then a weekly draft. So like in best ball, I like Jacoby Myers. I think he's a safe guy, like a good floor play, but I think he's a terrible weekly guy. Like he's never going to be the guy that puts up 30 points. I don't want a guy that can't do that on my team. So I'm looking for players in that range that can spike just based on their play style, like more deep threat receivers that can get, a 70-yard touchdown pass and, have a huge kind of like spike week that way.
Yeah. It's a great way to think about it. Like you're kind of knocking down those slot receivers. Like even for me, a more expensive player that I'm sort of fading here is Godwin. Low powered offense.
Right. He's a safe floor in best ball, and he's consistently going to get you good points, which you need.
6 for 72.
It adds up throughout the whole season. But when you're just playing strictly weekly, he might not be the guy that's going to spike your lineup enough when you're competing against 261,000 other players.
Right.
So
you want the Gabe Davis of the world. That's sort of
give me all the Gabe Davis of the world. I don't care if he only has a couple good weeks, but those are the weeks that you're going to probably need to have him to be competing for at least first place.
And you're a battle royale. At this point, battle royale genius.
Wow.
How big is it to leverage the field by getting a player that is just not being drafted. And now when you draft them, you get 17 weeks for them to hit.
Yeah. Well, this is tougher because there's so many rounds and practically all the players are being drafted. So unless you're really digging deep in rounds like 18 and the last rounds of the draft and finding
Yeah.
like guys that are super buried and just taking shots on those guys, um, then maybe Robbie Anderson, like a guy like
Yes,
that who doesn't get
sir.
drafted much, but
Chosen.
you know
Chosen.
he's not going to be on a lot of teams just based on his ADP, and he's just fallen out of the point where people draft him. So guys like that, are good. But again, it's
Cedric
different. I think it's a little different
Tillman.
than weekly because there's less rounds when we're drafting. So a lot more players don't get picked in weekly as opposed to this kind of contest.
Right. Weeklies are what, like 36
Like how many
players?
times does McCole Hardman get drafted in a weekly battle royale?
Yeah, right.
Practically never. I mean, if he does have a game and one team has him, I mean, it's just random luck.
Now I feel like that is it's different though, right? Because the way you are drafting down here, what's the difference between drafting like Jalen Hyatt or some of these players that are being drafted with the last round versus just going down a little bit, like you saying, maybe grabbing like Quez Watkins or Josh Reynolds, Matt Collins, like one of these players that might be 5%.
Well, I grab Matt Collins a lot. I don't see why you wouldn't love his upside, as his profile is great for a weekly contest, and he's the number 2 on the Falcons. So, like guys like Greg Dortch, if you look back, he had a couple games last year with Arizona where he had 9-10 receptions for over 100 yards. And that's the kind of player that you're not expecting to obviously go off every week, but he's definitely a player that you want on your team that people are low exposure on, as opposed to, like you said, maybe a Wan'Dale Robinson or somebody that's further up the board.
Yeah, like maybe just getting away from the chalky last round pick based on ADP and just sort of still getting one of those players that is a spike week potential type guy. I think that's super important.
Even a guy like Kyle Phillips in Tennessee, just to throw names out. I mean, he's a slot receiver, but I mean, I could see him having a huge game in terms of receptions where he could have a game with, I don't know, 9 or 8 receptions, and it's just random, but it's enough.
Second year guy, definitely like him more in full point PPR, but there's not a lot to pick from in Tennessee. But let's go over a little thing I galaxy brained at 3 a.m. as I was making a mistake pick, which is hilarious. Drew was in that draft, a little Discord draft, if you guys aren't already in that. Look at these bye weeks on the QBs, right? And what really sticks out to me is week 10. You have Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. They're not playing. So for me, this puts Josh Allen ahead. Just in my mind, I want Josh Allen over these other 2 QBs. And then I'm going to start looking into this bye week 10, and build around that when I do get Josh Allen.
So that's if Josh Allen is the number 1 quarterback week 10. You're basically making a lineup that's going to target the week 10 buys.
Exactly. So you have Lamar Jackson week 10 who plays Cleveland at Baltimore. You have the Bills are playing the Broncos. So maybe you do a Broncos bring back with this type of lineup.
Yeah, get guys like Judy.
What is happening, dude? It turned into a rave real fast, real quick. You have Chicago playing the Panthers, and this one's interesting because you also get a little taste of the Panthers week 17 as well with this. If you're going to build around the week 10 matchup here, you have the Chargers versus Detroit, which is also another juicy matchup for week 10. And Cincy is playing the Texans. Of course, another QB can spike into that week, but you have Miami on bye as well. I just think it's an interesting week to try to build around if you do get a Josh Allen team.
Yeah, if you're taking Josh Allen, just try and look at week 10 schedule and figure out your best matchups, like who's playing Houston, and take that running back, because there's a good chance that running back could be RB1. That was the worst run defense last year. So things like that.
Huge brain. All right. Let me pull up this.
But going back to your point, if somebody was to watch the stream and they did the same thing you did, maybe your first 5 picks all look identical, but then going back to the last rounds when you're taking flyers on other players, those are the players that might separate your lineup from like 80% that draft this exact same start as you.
Exactly. All right, you ready to jump in?
Let's do it. Let me
right,
pull up Underdog, and then whenever you're ready, just
waiting on 2.
Waiting on 1.
Guys, he sneaks in. Now I take the risk because there is like a 10-second delay. I did tip off.
Oh my god, we couldn't be further apart.
I did tip off the Patreon members in the Discord channel, and that's another great way if you guys want to support the channel. Sign up for the Patreon. We have a Founders Pounders redraft league starting. We need 4 more players for that, and we got a couple poundies in here. Ben in the 9 spot, Reed in the 5, and you get the 12, which I don't really mind the 12, to be honest. So
yeah, I would trade picks with you right now if I could.
Oh, no doubt. I'm looking at this, to be honest. What's your thoughts on Kelsey at 1 over JJ?
Yeah, I obviously see the upside in weekly because JJ has way more receivers and Chase has more receivers to compete against in the field. And you're more than likely to probably hit on Kelsey being the number 1 tight end in his position rather than JJ or Chase. But I don't think it's wrong to
I have a lot of Kelsey starts.
Go either way.
Well, actually, Kelsey's going at 4 right now. It's just like,
I mean, the thing is, how many weeks is Kelsey going to be the number 1 tight end, and how many weeks is Justin Jefferson going to be the number 1 receiver, or Chase is going to be the number 1 receiver? So I think that's how you have to kind of look at it.
I was surprised to see that Kelsey was a top 3 tight end 9 times, and that wasn't the surprising part. I believe he only finishes the top 1 tight end a single time. So kind of a flawed way of thinking to just go naked Kelsey without adding maybe even a Logan Thomas with your last round pick, like just someone that now it's not going to be a high probability that he can really spike into, but we see there is volatility at the tight end position.
Did you say with taking a tight end with Kelsey as opposed
to
naked?
I'm really
so I
not
had a team that was built
one.
out pretty nicely, and I wanted to actually have a tight end for week 10 because I liked how my team was built. And so I grabbed like a Luke Musgrave, and which I normally wouldn't do, but I didn't want to sacrifice that 1 week. And Luke Musgrave's probably not going to be the guy I needed anyway, but I did have Love too, so it just kind of made sense to do it one time.
Yeah, the correlation there makes sense.
But I think a lot of my teams I build around Kelsey's bye week anyway, so I'm just trying to target week 10 and just shut it down.
And probably my favorite pairing with Kelsey, if I'm going to go 2 tight ends, would be like a Taysom Hill, someone that if he's going to spike, he's really going to hit. I think that's another great player that is just a best ball weekly winner type player. You draft him and you get 17 of his weeks. It's just, he's kind of like a cheat code. Larry, let's go. Appreciate you, dude. Welcome to the Founders League. Bijan at 10. And you were talking earlier about pulling Bijan into this area, which is very interesting based on...
Yeah, further up. Because, again, if you look at ADPs and where week 11 lines up, it lines up very nicely at a certain point in the draft to take him earlier to get that correlation going.
Huge brain. Huge brain. So by week 13, I like to go ahead. I like to star all the players that have the same bye week as my first pick. I usually do it with my first 2 picks and then try to build around that.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to take Lamb and I'm going to take Wilson and go week 7.
Very nice.
Definitely when when I take CD, I'm thinking week 7, unless I build my team out like perfect, more than likely I'm not winning week 7 because CD's on a bye. Right. So I might as well just punt week 7 as hard as possible. And maybe that's a flawed logic of doing these things. I mean, there's no data on this quite yet, but it doesn't seem like possible to build my lineup at this point and have a better team than somebody else in this tournament.
Yeah, Yeah, especially so this is the point where it might make sense if you're 5 or 6 rounds in and you have maybe just 2 bye weeks that you're balancing perfectly,
Hmm.
and your next pick comes up and there is a slightly worse player. Slightly worse. Not, let's talk about, like, if
And
it's
then
Miles
punt your
Sanders.
correlation and take the better of the two because
Right,
it's negative EV.
right.
Yeah.
Like Sanders versus Swift, if you're trying to match that bye week, I think you actually could go ahead and match the bye week, but it's going to depend on a player-to-player basis.
No, I agree.
We see Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, same bye week, right? Yeah, that's a sick pairing right there. What are your thoughts on going, like, some of the, like, Tyreek Hill, right? So if he does get suspended, like, Chosen Anderson would potentially be a smash pick for a certain amount of weeks. Now, we know how slow suspensions are given on the NFL, so I'm really not expecting that to happen.
Yeah, he's an interesting player. I mean, to figure out. I mean, he was on the Cardinals last year and didn't do much. There was some hype when they got him, and he ended up like being irrelevant on that team. Never even played much. So,
I fell for it. Let's put it that way. I fell for Chosen Anderson last year a little bit. I was mixing him in.
but it definitely
I'm
would help. It's obviously going to help him.
I'm praying that Josh Allen falls here. I haven't seen this start before, so auto picked. Oh my god, we
Wow.
get him. Let's go.
So
Oh
again, it looks like
shit.
your boy Jaylee Den was doing the same thing we were talking about, and he opted
Yeah.
to go for by week 7 as well.
So that's another
And
thing
now
I've
this
been
makes it
seeing.
interesting for me now because I'm competing with another team with by week 7. So
Yep.
sometimes maybe I have to reach now, knowing that he's probably looking for the same bye weeks.
Mm-hmm. Or just
That's
sort
why I
of
find this tournament so
pivot.
fun. It's so different. And I don't feel like there's a wrong way of doing things, because again, it's weekly.
There's not. Now, I'm not really in the mood to mix in Josh Jacobs here. I'm just gonna go, and maybe I start mixing in a bye week 10 as well.
Yeah.
Gives us more options. Best available receiver.
Kind of hurts your bye week 10 strategy that you were
It
going for when we
does.
first started the
It
stream, where
does.
you're like, I'm
It
going
does.
to beat up these week 10 lineups.
I know.
So
That still has to. I still have to, like, really sit down and puzzle that one out, because if you're targeting a specific week, you really should have a well set up plan.
yeah, that's you gotta this is one of those things where you can't just kind of let picks come to you. You definitely have to play like puzzle a little bit with these things.
And I hate to say it, but, like, of all things that could be solved, I think this format is one of those that, like, a solver really would end up destroying the average drafter, where best ball mania and just regular best ball,
Sure.
I don't think it would have as much of an effect. I think it would actually do much worse.
Right. But I also find it fun when I just go in and I look at the NFL schedule and I go, okay, I want to target week 4. What are my
Mhm.
best matchups in week 4? And then try and, I tend to go into the draft room that's been done and I look at which positions are best because I don't want to technically reach too much on players. But if
Mhm.
I can figure out the right line where I'm like, okay, I get these players around their ADP value, then I'm gonna try and use that draft pick to go for those weeks. And those bye weeks are not gonna line up because now you're strictly just looking at the players. So you don't have to care about the bye weeks as much. You're
Yeah.
just looking to smash that one week.
Right. That makes a lot of
And,
sense.
and that's a lot of fun too.
Adam asked, "What about Cedric Wilson as a last round pick?" I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Chance that Gallup gets hurt again. There's no Schultz there. Team's definitely in
Hmm.
need of some red zone options. So I think that's a great last round, just a sleeper, really, that no one's going to be clicking. And we know free agency for wide receivers is just, like, completely dead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep this might not be right, but I'm just gonna keep going
Brees Hall. Love
with
that.
this.
Love it. Love it.
He's not making it back to me, obviously, and
Mhm.
yeah, I had to reach, but I got all week 7 now.
Yep. So now you're getting these players for 17 weeks or 16 weeks.
Right.
Makes a ton of sense. Oh shit! Did he get Cedric Wilson's on the Dolphins? That's hilarious. I was thinking he was still on Dallas.
Oh yeah, he's the number 3 on the depth chart right now.
Yes. I'm gonna put my money on Chosen Anderson for Miami. Just someone that has breakout speed, good hands.
So you like him in also best ball drafts?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind mixing him in. I actually mixed him into a puppy 2 draft that, obviously it's already filled. And yeah, I don't think he's gonna be a high drafted player. So
Yeah, I have 0% owned at the moment, and I only have
yeah.
like I have 5 drafts left in BBM. I don't think he's gonna make it on my roster. So, I have to live with the fact if he ends up being, awesome. It is
Oh,
what
I
it
don't
is.
expect him to be awesome, but you only have to be right one game.
Yeah. Right. Well, hopefully in the championship weeks when it really matters.
Definitely has some. Yeah, I agree. It's there now. Last year it was tough. He was. It seemed extremely toxic for the team, and he went out with kind of like an Antonio Brown type style. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and it sucked because the Cardinals seemed like they were ready to utilize his skill set, and they just didn't tap into it. So
I'm hoping DJ Moore falls here for that week 13 correlation. If not, cool. Don't have to think about it. But my next pick probably end up going Dobbins here. But shit, see, that's where it's like,
yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like
Dobbins versus
I feel like I'm
Harris.
reaching too much.
If Najee goes here, I won't really think about it too much. Like Dobbins versus Walker, sort of a similar tier if they tap into what Dobbins can actually do. Another year removed from injury.
Yeah.
Let's see what this dude wants to do. If he's going to make it tough on me or not.
Make it tough.
Make it tough. Oh, what the fuck?
He goes opposite of what.
What the fuck? Oh, all right. Well, he made it actually super easy. He made it wicked easy. I'm just going to go Najee. I'm not even going to overthink it.
That would have been funny if he went Dobbins and then slow rolled you and then took Najee.
Oh my, yeah, the reach up and then
Yeah.
he would have to be here though. He would have to be here. That just made me sweat, man.
That would
Now
be
we're
so
sweating.
spiteful.
That's hysterical. Yeah, I'm just not even gonna think about it. Week 6, so we're gonna have a little mixed match team, which is fine.
Yeah.
You're not able to get these players at this ADP. Like this is a completely unique team, and we're only 5 rounds in.
Yep. Like I said, I think eventually you realize, oh, maybe I just kind of punt this whole correlation strat and just go for ADP,
Right.
and hopefully these other teams like me are drafting like idiots and taking Joe Mixon like a million picks ahead of time, and I'll get some like insane lineup because of it.
But this is still fine. Like what you're doing is
you're building a team that's
100%
going to
correct.
spike outside of any of the bye weeks that you
Right.
currently have. So like
Right.
week 1, 2, 3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5.
7, 8, 9. You're hoping your team is just a juggernaut team and it just is going to smash any of those weeks.
Right. Definitely a beginning of the season type team. So like, I'm not going to be interested in bringing in a ton of rookies on this style team because they take a little time to get up to speed with the offense. So that wouldn't make sense for this roster correlation, just to keep that in the back of your guys' heads if you're doing this.
Yeah.
Real Life Genie says Broncos and Jets are being slept on, in my opinion. The wide receivers 2 for both teams are easy scoops for me. Who is the wide receiver 2 for the Broncos?
Cortland's son. Come on.
Tim Patrick's back, my man. Tim Patrick is back. Now, I do agree, though. Like, if you're making a bet on an offense, especially one that underperformed the last year, you are getting discounts on these wide receiver twos for those two teams. You go Treylon Burks, who's 7, right? By week 7.
Yeah, he's probably as far down as I can reach for a player. I don't know if I want to pull in another running back here. I know Miles Sanders is a name I'm thinking about, but
I'd go Gabe Davis or Lockett.
I have Davis in my queue. Not to say anything, but he's sitting there, and I'm just thinking on it.
Yeah, those Lockett or Gabe Davis, those are going to be those spike week guys in this range that I'm going to be.
I also don't mind.
targeting.
I technically had Tony and Davis. I was between two of them because I think Tony is another guy that is a good spike week player, and his ceiling's very unknown.
Yeah, that's for sure. It might not be existent, but
yeah, exactly. But if it is, I mean, he could be a really scary spike week player.
Yeah, break the slate type guy.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 2 for the Jets is Allen Lazard.
And maybe I should have went Tony because he has like matchup correlation with my team in terms of Mixon and who else do they play? The Chiefs. I don't have the schedules open, but I have to look at. I know they play the Jets, so honestly, I think it might have been better to go Tony. It's all right. I like Davis in this format anyway.
And to touch on those when we're talking about elite tight ends, how I don't think it's absolutely egregious to go 2, even if you have Kelsey, you bring in someone like Taysom Hill. If I go an elite QB, though, and even if it's not a super elite QB, like I went to Danny Dimes lineup yesterday, and I just fully built around Daniel Jones and brought in 8 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 tight ends, whatever the build was.
Yeah. Week 13 is a fun one to build out. And you can get all of his Giants pieces like at the end of the draft, which feels great. Like you can scoop up who goes
Paris
first?
Campbell,
Isaiah Hodgins, technically his first number 1 receiver that on the depth chart. Then you go Paris Campbell, then you can go Slayton. You can get all 3 of his starting receivers at the end of your draft, and they can serve as your 6th, 7th, 8th receiver on your team. You know, it's really nice.
I definitely want Waller here, and I'm just going to take the bet that this guy won't go Cam Akers, but I want Akers too. Sick. So again, we're giving up we're giving up week 13 just to have more live players on other weeks.
Right.
Not a rookie type team, not an Odell type team because no team is. Sorry.
Hey, but if Odell's healthy, he could be a good spike week player.
It's true.
I can definitely see it where you can have those spike week games healthy.
Does he have multiple touchdown game upside in a, we won't say run first offense anymore, new OC, supposedly going to be throwing the ball more, which is exciting, but they added more weapons, right? It's sort of getting
Andrews
a little
probably will
crowded
end up
there.
with more TDs anyway.
Yeah, definitely. This guy just he must be in like 5 drafts because he just lets them all clock all the way down. Here I'm definitely going Cam Akers. And let me pull up what I like to do when I do this elite like QB style draft. I will pull up their draft or their schedule and see where that correlation is for the bringbacks. I think that is important. Let's see how Reed's been doing in the 5 spot. Austin Eckler, Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson. What a sick start. Now he has to punch in some receivers to get there because we know these receivers that go in this range provide like most of the spike weeks for receivers. Mari Cooper is a good first receiver though. Kenneth Walker at 53. Mike Evans and Jordan Addison. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I think the only pick I don't really agree with is Jordan Addison. I would probably rather Jahan Dotson or Pickens. Give me a second-year guy.
Addison easily in this kind of contest.
Yeah.
You know? Definitely Dotson, who's more of a deep threat than Addison's going to be for the Vikings. So
Ben Haskell with Diggs, Jalen Waddle, Justin Fields. We see the little East correlation here. Travis Etienne, Alexander Madison, Kadarius Toney. Interesting build from Ben so far. Let's see what he does here. He goes Swift. So also going with bye week 10, bye week 13, competing with me. It does get tougher. And I think this is a strategy that, when I started doing these when they opened, you were able to get your bye week guys at ADP and your teams were ridiculous. I think as this contest continues, this early edge of stacking your bye week guys is going to fade a little bit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's going to change ADPs as well, as it already has. Nick's on the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. He goes, yeah. Not liking this pick.
No, but I'm gonna do it because he could be a guy that goes
Pittman.
that could go long, and then I'll balance it out with this for later on in the season.
Nice. Interesting.
Again, going with the theme of just getting guys that I think have the best chance of maybe getting some deep balls.
Mm-hmm. How about a Dak Brandon Cooks there?
Dak was
for bye week 7.
I did do a bye week 7, like anti-week 7 that has Dak already in it. So if he doesn't come back to me, maybe I'll go, instead of getting a bye week 7 quarterback, I'll just punt another bye week, like 9 or 11 or 13, since I have players in them.
Do you like Brandon Cooks this year as a spike week guy?
I think he's more safe, in my opinion. Like, I put him on the more safe end, but I also I don't know if I like completely stacking players together, unless I know they can both 100% hit a week together. Like, I don't know are we going to get a week where CeeDee Lamb and Cooks are on the same winning lineup? You think? I mean, it's not out of the possibility, but I mean, is Dak going to be the week 1 quarterback and Cooks and CeeDee Lamb are both in somebody's lineup?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's possible for sure. I mean, Dallas is going to have to throw the ball.
I mean, if Pollard goes down, I would 100% see that being a possibility because he'll just be throwing the ball every game. But with a healthy Pollard, he's still in this offense, and he gets a lot of work out of the backfield when it comes to receiving. So there's a good amount of mouths to feed there between those 3 guys.
I hope this guy just picks Flowers so I don't have to pick him. I can go Sutton, which I don't love, but he would make sense for this team. Yeah, No, I don't even have a bye week 9.
I don't mind 10. Flowers, man. I've seen some stuff from Baltimore and some videos of him flying.
Yeah, I do want to target those weeks 1 through 5. It's just it's going to depend.
Odell get hurt.
Yeah, when Bateman's not fully healthy. Same with
Flowers could be the number 2 behind Andrews and just get a ton of volume.
Same thing with Pollard too, though, right? Like, he ended the season with an injury. Pitts, we haven't really seen Pitts. A lot of info about him come out about his injury status as well. I'm definitely smashing another receiver in this range or running back. 5, 9. I just don't love how the bye weeks are shaping up.
I like it. That's a big brain pick.
We'll reach a little bit. I'm going to give up week 6 as well, most likely, unless like late round running backs can hit. But I do need to catch up at receiver still. There's so many good late options though with bye week 13, so I'm not really too worried about it.
Yeah, bye week
It's
13 is a good one, man.
It's a super heavy bye week. Bye week 7 and bye week 13 are the 2 biggest weeks with the most players on bye. Yes, let's go. Ben says Mims and Patrick. Sutton is wide receiver 4 dust. I love it. I love it. I got to make this smaller so I can actually see the comments. The comments are always gold. Adam says, I love Pollard. I can't stop drafting him. Ben says, what the hell is Kick Flush doing with Tua as QB2 before ADP? Let's peek that. Kick Flush. AJ Brown, JT, Derrick Henry, Judy, Trevor Lawrence, Damian Pierce, Tua at 79, uncorrelated. Yeah, it's kind of gross. I agree. Someone's got to pay the rake, though, Ben. Someone's got to pay the rake.
Absolutely.
He just jumped into the wrong draft room. That's all. But definitely stopping at one elite QB, I think, smart, all the way up until, honestly, whoever you think can spike into the top 3, in my opinion. And sort of just building around that player and giving yourself as many positional players live as possible. And it's kind of like the opposite take I have with tight end, because could 2 tight ends spike into the lineup on the same week? Like, it definitely could happen. And you're going to see...
What's a good example?
Like, you could have Taysom Hill and Travis Kelce spike into the lineup on the same week. Definitely.
Oh, okay. And Hill could be a flex for you, you mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. 100%. But that's a roster construction thing, again, that you're referring to. So it's just understanding that is huge.
Let's see what you do here. Is anyone falling to you that you like Lazard or...
Yeah, I was not going to say anything just in case I got sniped, but
Lazard and Rodgers.
It's going to be very easy. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice little Jets double here.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if I necessarily like having so much of it. Like, I don't know how many times Breece Hall, Wilson, and Lazard are going to be the guys you need, but I'm okay because Lazard is like my receiver 7 at this point. And, you know, if Wilson has a bad game and Lazard goes off, you know, I have so many receivers on this team that I can afford to, you know, just stack them.
Now, does it give you a chance to win multiple weeks? You know what I mean? Having this many pieces on one offense. I don't actually really mind super stacking.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a discounted offense like the Jets.
Right.
Where you're getting Lazard, where you're getting Aaron Rodgers. And Rodgers had 0 spike weeks as a top 3 QB last season.
I really don't like that part of it. If you look at like boom or bust players, he's 0% for top 10. So, but he had a terrible year. I mean, this is a totally different year in my opinion, and we don't know what Rodgers is going to be playing. You know, maybe we get a Rodgers that spikes.
I agree. I think you're definitely going to see him spike into the top 3 at least once this season. At least
he's got a lot to prove, right? So,
and maybe that darkness retreat was good for him. We'll see.
I might need one.
Yeah, we're both going to need one after these pick'ems. You're sick. You're sick. Reads up. I like this pick. Fuck. God damn it. Everyone's going after bye week 13, which is sort of a disadvantage in a way. When it is a heavy week like that, I'd almost rather have like a niche week bye week that I'm targeting like 6 or 6 and 5 is actually one of my favorites to build around.
Yeah, week 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
A
lot of my guys are in week 5.
I hate the A-chain pick, but it's going to happen here with the Buffalo correlation playing twice. Makes too much sense.
Yeah, why
Makes
not?
too much sense.
Interesting if Cook goes there. We'll see what kind of role he has, but.
And then I could bring in Juju here, who plays Buffalo twice. Different bye week, but we're getting that interconference correlation. We'll see if he allows it. If not, we could always go like a late Tyquan Thornton or late Devontae Parker, which both those players would be fine, in my opinion. If I scroll down a little bit, like Van Jefferson, would he make it back to me at 140? Potentially. Potentially.
He'll get past me for sure.
All right. Let's go Jacoby Myers, and I'll try to get Tyquan Thornton later. We'll stick with this bye week 13 thing that we have going on here.
You know, one of the other strategies, like just thinking about them the other day, I was thinking, like, do you think it's beneficial just to target maybe 2 running backs, and then just if you want to throw some late flyers, and I'm talking about like the last few rounds, but more than likely if you get like a Christian McCaffrey and a Henry build, like those are the 2 running backs that you're going to need. And like the middle tier running backs like Jerick McKinnon's and even a little bit before him are probably not going to matter too much in your lineups.
I wouldn't mind sprinkling in like Jerick, though. If that was your 3rd running back with those 2, I think Jerick's actually a player that he's like a red zone role.
Well, he's a good spike week. That's a bad example. But
like maybe like Kendre Miller or something, like a rookie that would start
Jaylen
slow,
Warren,
or even
maybe.
Jaylen Warren, who would likely need an injury to unlock his full potential.
Correct.
So I agree with that. I definitely agree. Like just going super
guys
late,
like Rashad Penny, guys like Damian Harris, like Khalil Herbert, maybe like the guys that aren't huge spike week players and they're more like safe floors, in my opinion. Like just avoiding them and just strictly trying to target spike week receivers, tight ends, depending on what your build looks like.
Like I wouldn't mind stopping. Like I could stop here with these 4 and have my last pick be a running back, or not even if you just want to rely on just the chance of these 2 guys hitting on the same week and having the right pieces around it.
That's all you need, man. And then you just need to take a ton of shots at receivers and hit a few spike guys.
There's just so many strategies. There's so many strategies that you can use. And that's what makes it fun. Like you see a lot of different teams. Like I had a 1-8, like 7-3 build the other day. I was like, this team's sick.
Man, I wanted Geno Smith. That sucks. But it's okay.
Yeah. A falling Geno too. Jesus. Schultz is staring you at the face.
I got him in my queue. He's for sure coming on the team.
Welcome to the squad, Dalton.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking
you have bye week 11. You could
I could go Kincaid here because of Gabe Davis. I'm also thinking Nico Collins. Does he really? I don't know if he does anything for this team, unfortunately.
Taysom Hill would be a sick pick.
Yeah, I think I'll just go Kincaid. Why not?
All right. So bring in the little Buffalo correlation there. I think.
Yeah, go for the guys that play with Josh Allen. I
think there might be a negative.
That have a good quarterback.
I think there might be a negative though to grabbing 2 pass catchers in this format without the QB, unless you have like a rushing QB that can really unlock a ceiling that, like with Lamar, you know what I mean? He can get 43 points, and who cares if Gabe Davis and Kincaid both score, a touchdown each and have like 70, 80 yards.
I don't know. Kincaid doesn't feel that great because I don't know if he's ever going to be the tight end 1 on any team, but for these contests, I don't know, but
it's just it's an interesting conversation.
3 tight ends anyway, so
definitely an interesting conversation.
But maybe you don't need to have the tight end 1. Maybe the teams that have the tight end 1, like the Kelseys and Andrews, don't separate enough from the field, and guys like Schultz or Kincaid get just enough, and the rest of your pieces on your team do the work for you. I don't know if that's out of the realm of possibility or not, but
no, there's so much that's in the realm that there's more in the realm of possibilities with this type of tournament than out. Let me see if I can find that lineup from yesterday with Daniel Jones, because it's an interesting talking piece too.
Now that I made my pick, I kind of regret who I took, and I should have went with somebody else, but it's okay.
Okay, we'll peek.
If he gets picked, I will say it.
Taysom Hill off the board, and this is, in my opinion, same thing. Like, how does Osborne and Jefferson both spike without? I guess they both could, and Josh Allen could still have a bigger week. But then, I mean, you likely need at least one rushing touchdown, possibly two. And I need some Buffalo players on my team.
Yeah, you're not looking at much.
Which Knox and Shakir, I'm fine with those two, to be honest. 146. Can I get anyone at 167 with Knox? Going at 174. I should be able to double click these guys on the way back around. Now, should be and then being on the live stream are two different things.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up.
I never do. I'm never surprised. And yeah, MVS here, I think makes a lot of sense. By week 10.
Yep. Again, plays with Patrick Mahomes, so
yeah, I hear he's
potentially could have a great week at any point.
I hear it's a good player.
Yeah.
Let me pull up this squad real quick. So this is a 1782 build with Daniel Jones at QB, Hawkinson and Taysom Hill at tight end. Ramondre, so hero running back build. Ramondre, Dalvin Cook, AJ Dillon, Kenneth Gainwell, Jeff Wilson, Joshua Kelly, Israel Banaconda, Cup, Garrett Wilson, London, Gabe Davis, Jahan Dotson, Mooney, KJ Osborne. So you can see like kind of giving away by week 13, obviously. Trying to get as many of those players as possible. At the same time, bringing in a lot
big believer in Danny Jones.
Well, I don't care if he has 3 good weeks, right? Those are the 3 weeks that I'm going to put as many other pieces around him as possible to try to hit the nuts on that 1 week.
Danny Jones is going to carry that team on his back.
Well, that's the thing. In weekly winners, I don't care if I lose 14 weeks if I win 1, I don't care if I lose 16 weeks.
Be happy with just 1.
I'll be happy
with like 5th place in 1 because it pays back max entries.
Right. That's the way you got to look at it. All right, let's see what Kick Flush does, because this guy's been going rogue. And is it an auto pick? Goes Russell Wilson, his 3rd QB. That's exactly what you don't want to do.
Yeah, especially when you have Trevor Lawrence and Tua, who are definitely good enough to stop.
Right. Even in a cumulative scoring is good enough to stop. So in this weekly contest, when you have 3 at the 1 seed position,
do for that team? I mean, I guess he has. Unfortunately, Ben took who I thought I should have drafted, which really sucks because it's 2 picks before me.
Ooh, Max Payne.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Cole Kmet was actually the right tight end for my team.
Okay.
As a spike week player who definitely had a good amount of spike weeks last season and more proven than Kincaid.
Well, you have Juwan Johnson as a potential by week 11 player to mix in there. Knox for 13, but you already have 2 Buffalo players, so that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, this is where it gets a little tricky.
Singletary at running back by week 7.
Yep, for sure. He's definitely coming on the team.
And maybe even Algier by week 11 to mix with Pittman, or are you going to just rely on?
At this point, I don't know what these running backs even do for my team.
You likely need an injury to the starter for
exactly.
Algier could get you a spike week 14 point spike week, but is that enough against the field?
Yeah.
You know?
Ooh, Dawson Knox is still here.
You're going to go both Buffalo tight ends.
I'll go Algier. Why not?
I think it makes sense. You still have that corresponding upside with a potential injury to Bijan.
Right. And maybe I don't know. Maybe Bijan gets rest and they need him to play. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Not expecting too much out of those two picks, but I don't really have too much to do in terms of correlating this team at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just kind of adding pieces around that have some sort of upside, and you never know with injuries. It's so early in the off season. Like, this is around the time that Tim Patrick got hurt for me last year, and I had 400 something drafts, and I had like 24% Tim Patrick in the 16th round, and we were still profitable in cash games. So it ended up getting him down to 16% by NFL kickoff, but I started kickoff last year was 16% of a player that tore their ACL. So I'm definitely looking forward to this year and hoping, just every time I get a notification on my phone and it's like just one of my injury update guys, just praying it's not my player. Just pray.
You got your like exposure on your fridge.
Dude, like get hurt week 1. It's more acceptable in my mind.
Yeah, as long as it's not season ending. But
right. Yeah, stopping at this one QB. If I could get Knox and Shakir here, I think that's an easy. We'll start with Shakir or Knox. Excuse me.
Yeah,
shares a bye week, just perfect.
Go with
so
the higher guy in the ADP, just
definitely
to play it safe.
Definitely, and so be it. If Shakir gets sniped, he gets sniped. Can always get like a late Hardy or Trent Sherfield, which I like
on the
Hardy.
Guys that are right under him just as much. I mean, if I had to take them, I'd be fine with
it. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with the correlation here.
Yep.
We got a lot of live players. Now the running backs, we weren't as successful again. Those bye week 13 guys,
and you're still getting most of your players around their ADP, so you're not really hurting yourself and like reaching too much to do it.
Right.
I mean,
right.
You're just giving yourself more players in other weeks. You know, when other players may just have a player like on each bye week for the whole season that could I think mess up their entire lineup.
You definitely see teams at the end of it and you're like, oh, wow. Like, what happened to this team? Why does it look so bad? And then you look at the ADPs, it's like, oh, he reached on this guy, on this guy, on this guy. So you end up with tiers of players that are just significantly worse.
Yeah.
And yes, you might have all matching bye weeks, but that team's probably still dead. And I'd rather take a parlay on a team with better players with different bye weeks. But guys, if you're new on the stream, drop a like, hit the subscribe button, bell for notifications so you can jump in these live drafts with us. Join the Discord where the free Best Ball Mania draft guide is located. And all of Nick's shiny pick'em picks.
Yeah, Discord is a lot of fun. Yeah. It's
been awesome.
It's a good time. There's good people. You know, I crack up a ton.
Dude, I might have screenshot the conversation with Steph with who gets to marry Steph when she wins the million. It's just absolute gold going on in the Discord. Absolute gold.
Yeah, it's a good time. And it's a good community with good people. And it's a lot of fun.
It's definitely a lot better than being on Twitter. That's for sure.
Man, oh man.
All right, let's see Nick sweat. Let me link the Discord is going to be in the description as well as in the comments.
Pick for sure.
Adam, it all makes sense now.
It all makes sense. Count down because I have no idea what to do.
Just make sure your limits aren't set. I like the Conklin pick.
Yeah,
fine with that.
Definitely need a third one. Might as well just get correlation, but then I don't want Hardman at this point. Like that's way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And like
John Mechie. The deep sigh lets both picks run out to triple zeros. The shot
Screw
is
it.
up, and he goes Stroud with 7. I like it.
God forbid. I mean,
I
he's
like
supposed to make it back to me, but if he doesn't,
Who are you
might
thinking?
as well
Oh,
take it.
okay. I see.
I mean, I'm supposed to be able to get him. He's at 203 pretty much, so he should get back to me. But, yeah, these quarterbacks in this range are like disgusting.
Yeah, he got locked out a little bit at QB, but I'm not
But I don't know.
as
Stroud has
worried.
a lot of upside. Hopefully, he's
Mm-hmm.
maybe gonna get some. He could rush a little bit more than Rodgers can.
Yeah,
I mean, he's paired with
I would say
Singletary,
so.
who's more of a receiving back than Pierce, I guess. So,
Mm-hmm. I would
and I
definitely
have
like to see
Schultz, so I
one
guess
more.
there's correlation there too.
You could still get Mechie if Mechie falls, or you could get, your other guy.
There's a lot of Houston guys in the bottom of this pool, so
Tank.
I'm not even worried about it.
Xavier Hutchinson, who was a one of those rookie standouts that kind of went later in drafts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't really heard anything about him, but
that would take a Google search.
Yeah, but I just think Dell is the better of the two rookies anyway.
Definitely.
Tank Dell, in my opinion.
If I had to rank my picks, it'd probably look something like this. Although, like Jeff Wilson versus Mostert.
Jeff Wilson strikes me more as the spike week player, but Mostert, if Cook doesn't go there, has an interesting floor. And then Mostert could end up in a different team at this point, so we don't even know. Maybe he gets in, he lands in a great spot.
Mm-hmm. Honestly,
could he land in Las Vegas?
I could just go
Jacobs
both
doesn't,
of them, to be honest.
Figure out his stuff.
We get another little correlating pick with Buffalo, which I like. Honestly, could you bring in both? I don't think that's ridiculous. Does it limit your upside with having 3 Miami running backs? Yes. So definitely not going to do that. Oh, God. We could bring in a little bring back here, but I think I'm good at receiver. He gets the Pats twice, though. We have one more pick after this. It's going to be like, I don't need 2 running backs. This isn't a cumulative scoring. I'm just looking for spike weeks. Do I have enough there to give me spike weeks? And then does anyone add to my roster? Let's go Gus Edwards, another live player for 16 of the 17 weeks.
Yeah, who knows what's going on with Dobbins, too. Nothing's confirmed yet.
Mm-hmm. So did we really give up week 10? So we have Harris, Dillon, and Gus Edwards. And then we have basically every receiver. I don't even think it's a full fade on week 10, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get the 2 Miami players, which is fine. Week 6. Do we give up week 6? Akers. Now, week 6 is probably a... But
yeah,
even
week
then...
6, your team's probably dead.
Even then, week 13, 6, 10... Week 13, 6, and 10 are the only 3 weeks I have on this team. So this team's live for, 15, 14 weeks?
Yeah, that's a good team.
Likely off the board. Likely, I think someone that has some really high upside at tight end in a format like this, if there was an injury to Andrews. Ben brings in Josh Downs to pair with Anthony Richardson. Let's see how we're doing in the like department here, fellers. 22 likes. Let's try to get to 35 likes. We'll pop off another draft after this one.
Okay.
We'll go over the teams as well.
We are going to definitely bring in our last receiver. I'll get Tank Dell. And then my wild card player is going to be...
Yes. Positive news about OTAs. Nice. Yeah. Is this a beat reporter type pick right here?
I had to look it up if I'm being quite honest, but yeah, I mean, he's getting some good news for sure. I mean, Miles Sanders could be an injury away. Even if Miles Sanders is healthy, they're saying he could be the change of pace third down receiving back because it's not really in Hubbard's skill set or Sanders as much as he is. And I mean, he played on the Bills, and I watched some like preseason footage of him when he was on the Bills. He looks pretty good. So
he does, and we saw last year how willing Carolina was to just using a committee running backfield. So it's not just like it's Chuba back there. So I don't think it's crazy to think that maybe Blackshear's the guy that you would want.
Yeah, and how many times is this guy getting really picked? I mean, let's be honest.
under
1%. Picked a lot, you think?
Under 1%.
So I love those kind of picks. Let me just put on my light here. It's super dark in this room.
I like both of these picks. Either one's correlated with Josh Allen, or we get the Miami bring back in a similar week that we're trying to follow as well. All of mine's an interesting one down here as well, not being clicked.
Justin Shorter, another name. You're good on running backs, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with this crew.
Yeah.
I'm fine with this crew.
You don't need anybody from Buffalo like Latavius Murray.
So we got Shakir, Knox. I've been clicking a lot of Chosen Anderson. Let's go Hardy here. I think it could go either way with that pick.
Yeah. Though. Yeah. Do you have much of Justin Shorter? It's Justin Shorter, right? He's one of the Bills guys.
Yep.
He's
has he been getting some positive?
I think. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it was good. We have two pretty good, decent teams.
Let's peek the squads. All right, so I ended up with Josh Allen build week 13 give up, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, AJ Dillon, A-Chain, Mostert, and Gus Edwards. Obviously, Bills playing Miami twice. I don't think they play week 18. Darren Waller and Knox, so two tight ends that are live for 16 weeks is always nice. Jefferson, Smith, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Jacoby Myers, KJ Osborne, MVS, Shakir. Sort of, we got some spike week guys. I didn't want to bring a rookie in with this roster, but can Zay Flowers get off to a quicker start?
I don't mind it. I liked it. I think it was the right pick
over Sutton. That was going to be
I think it's the right
pick. Opposing,
especially with
Reed in the 5 spot, a 1-6-10-1 build. This will be interesting. Built around Lamar. Brings in Eckler, Walker, Khalil Herbert, Jalen Warren, Kendre Miller, and Jerome Ford. So really not targeting any specific week.
He started off doing the bye week 5 for his two main running backs, which is probably all you need is your two main guys. Get them out week 5, and then you're good.
Add a bunch of late guys. Yeah, I think that's a super sharp strategy. Just goes Mark Andrews by week 13, and then
it looks like he forfeited week 5 and 13 from what I'm seeing. His two best receivers are week 5. His quarterback and tight end or week 13. So, week 13 and 5, it's pretty much, that's it. And then the
And
rest
then try
are
to
in the money.
piece around it. Yeah, it looks like it's viable. I think, and that's basically what you're going to judge these teams on, right? Is you can pretty much see obvious mistakes, or you can see what people's kind of train of thought were, and
Yeah.
this one definitely works. Ben in the 9 spot, Justin Fields, Anthony Richardson by week 13 and 11 brings in just Cole Kmet.
I think
Interesting.
could be enough, honestly. I don't hate it.
Interesting. Can he have that 2 touchdown type game? I think he had 2 of them last year, and that's enough to put him as a top 3 tight end weekly finisher. Travis Etienne, Alexander Madison, DeAndre Swift, Dalvin Cook, Damian Harris. I definitely think you have enough spike week guys in this range.
His running back room is really strong.
Diggs, Waddle, Tony, Zay Jones, Rashee Rice, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, and Robert Woods.
See, I maybe would have taken Robert Woods out of this lineup and threw in a flyer at tight end, and maybe tried to correlate Richardson even more. Was Jelani Woods, is he still available in the board? Or
I would think so at pick 208. Usually he is. Yeah, I don't even think he got drafted.
So maybe throw in someone like that over Robert Woods. I think I might like it a little bit more.
I agree. I can see what he's doing though at the onesie position.
Yeah.
I think you can add a second tight end though. But yeah, it's definitely, you got some spike week guys in here, which that's what you want to see. Definitely a team that's built kind of almost like split decision. Am I built for like the beginning portion or am I building for the end portion?
Yeah.
I'd almost like to see like I really like teams that are divisive, right? That are like, okay, I'm gonna have a bunch of rookies. I'm gonna pair it with Kamara and JMO and play for week 7+. I think those teams are interesting. I think the teams with like
I never even thought of that.
zero RB, or not zero RB, but like zero rookies. Anthony Richardson, we'll sort of see. I bet he gets the start this season.
But yeah, I think so.
Definitely an interesting team.
Which sucks because me and you were both drafting a ton of Minshew in like super flex in the original ones.
Yeah. Before the draft.
Draft happened, and we were like, "Oh, this is gonna be the steal of like these super flex. We're getting him in like the last round."
He wasn't being drafted. But yeah, that's what happens when you draft before the NFL draft. And then Nick here with Aaron Rodgers and CJ Stroud sort of get locked out at QB a little bit, but you made it work. Heavy on bye week 7, which is nice. Schultz, Kincaid, and Conklin.
Yeah, I wish I went Kmet over Kincaid. Like, I just wasn't thinking about it. That was my only change I would have done instead of Kincaid. I would have probably went with Kmet. But
I do think there's going to be negative correlation between having 2 pass catchers in an offense and not having the QB. Probably. In this sort of
maybe
tournament.
1 week you don't need Gabe because he's not a guy that goes off every single week, and then maybe some weeks you need Kincaid. I don't know.
No, yeah, and you could be live for multiple weeks with this lineup. Clearly, because most of your players are by week 7, so you have a lot of live weeks. Right. Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary, Algier, and Raheem Blackshear, which I just love. Doing this with my last pick, someone that's really not being drafted or someone who's being drafted very little. Now, is it smart to be doing it this early in the offseason? Like, that's the other thing I want to think about. Like, can we just have less risk if we're doing it later? Will their price really spike up more Probably with not. More information? No.
He doesn't really move the needle, even if something happened. Look, if Miles Sanders breaks his leg tomorrow, I think it would affect him
of course
a little bit more than that, but bearing none of those issues, I think he stays pretty much how it is. It doesn't really matter what kind of hype you're getting out of this guy.
Now, if it's a fast filling tournament, that is a strategy that is 100% okay. But I think even my
I'm also
own
like, if he sucks and he does nothing on this team as my last round pick, I really could care less. I mean, he's definitely not the guy I'm building my team around. Like, if Breece Hall and Joe Mixon are not who they're supposed to be, my team's dead
Mhm.
regardless. Blackshear is
Mhm.
not coming in and saving this team, even if he's the starter. Like it's
You
not
don't want
happening.
you don't want him to play Superman?
Probably won't. You got to be realistic, right? With your draft picks. I mean, come on, man.
It's true. But how nice is it though having these last round picks that it's
Algier
like,
is
oh,
though. Like
Zamir White.
if Bijan does get hurt, we saw what Algier can
Mhm.
do. So when you sold me on
Exactly.
that, it's like we knew Algier was 1,000-yard rusher last year. He doesn't
Right.
need Bijan there to be good. We saw what he's capable of doing. He could be,
Definitely.
an RB2 on my team.
Definitely. I think that last round pick, there is so much volatility anyways,
Yeah,
like kind of you're hinting at, where it's like, oh, Zamir White, is he gonna be, the RB1 if Josh Jacobs holds out? Probably not. They'd probably bring someone in, but his role would definitely expand. So he's an interesting click.
yep,
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he had some spike weeks last year before injury, and then he came back. He was not hurt, and then they didn't play him during the Super Bowl. They actually had him play the Devonta Smith role in practice. They
right.
used him as like a decoy practice player. So it's
Got a
like,
guy like Dwayne McBride. I mean, I think
right.
he's definitely like if he ends up being the starter over Madison for whatever reason happens, would anybody be surprised based on his college profile? Like
No,
he's a
no,
beast.
he's a goal line back sized, like he's not like a 3 down back guy, but first down and second down for sure.
Right,
He's injured right now, so he's not getting hyped up in practice, but I have him over Ty Chandler, who, I mean, people smarter than me like Ty Chandler.
right,
I'm putting my chips on Dwayne McBride.
right.
And if he hits, like we're buying an island, and that's where next year's draft party gonna be. Pounders Island. But even like Joshua Kelly, like an injury.
Yeah,
So Joshua Kelly's an
yeah.
interesting click as well. There's a lot of
And
guys, but
and
this
they're
is the
saying Kelly's a
volatile.
good pick regardless, even if Eckler's healthy because of the
Mhm.
new coaching staff and getting the coach from what's his name from Cowboys? Um,
Uh, I'm
offensive
completely
coordinator.
blanking. Yeah, I'm completely
Um,
blanking. I got you.
anyway, the way the Cowboys like to run the ball is they use the committee like by committee, and that's what the Chargers might look like this season,
Mhm.
where they actually exercise Kelly into, the game plan.
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. Right.
Kellen Moore.
There we go.
So it'll definitely be interesting to see how these last round picks, because a lot of these guys are zeros, right? So I think if you are at least siding with correlation, you're siding with upside, especially for this weekly contest.
Right.
There is that value of if you can hit on someone that people aren't drafting and you get them 17 weeks, like that's a huge leverage on the whole field if you can get one
100%.
player to
Yeah.
spike.
Yeah.
So
Ingram for
I,
the Cardinals. He's a guy I could see spike once
yeah.
based on just his receiving skills.
Mhm.
Um, that's another name.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. We didn't hit the like goal tonight, but I'm sure we'll get it on the next one. Guys, I want to thank everyone for coming out. If you enjoyed tonight's live stream with Nick and I, slap a like on the way out. We appreciate every single one of you. Nick, do you have anything to say to the people?
I'm disappointed we didn't get the like. I think that's like more of a dig to me than you.
No, it's not.
Every
No,
time
it's
I've
not.
been here, the goal has been met. Like when
Dude,
I've not been on stream.
we're gonna blame the light. We're gonna blame the light for not being on, and then hitting the rave status halfway through.
Yeah.
Damn equipment violation.
How
All
many
right,
did we
fellas.
miss by?
Let's see what we're at. We missed by 8. We missed by 8,
Wow.
but it's okay. There's always next time, and we're gonna do multiple drafts on the next one. I'm sure we'll hit it then. Guys, thank you for coming out. It's always a pleasure. Have a good night, Pounders.